Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Jesse Mayer with the Digital Adventure Crew, and today in the studio we got
Braxton Detson. I'm a certified sex therapist and licensed clinical social worker, as well as the host of Birds and Bees podcast. Today we're going to be talking about some sexually related material as we're going through this in our podcast, and we wanted to let you know that some of the terms that we use, some parents feel is inappropriate. We want you to know that we use it in a respectful manner for you to be able to talk with your kids about this and be prepared.
It's an amazing podcast, and this isn't your kind of thing, that's fine. Click through the next video, but if not, go ahead and stay tuned in because I really think you're going to enjoy it. With that, let's get into it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Digital Venture Radio and
Birds and Bees podcast.
Today we're doing a fun little collab together. After a slew of technical difficulties, we have managed to make it work.
This has been really, really fun to try and get the video along with audio, along with all the other things that we want to do. It's one thing and then it doesn't work and then it does. It's been fun.
Well, we got it to work, and we even have music playing that you can't hear, but we can.
Yeah, this is a first for Birds and Bees for me. I've never had music going in the background. This is pretty chill.
Oh, finally. You want to say hello there, Brian?
Hello. We made it.
We made it. All right, so we want to start off first, and we're doing some hype videos that are kind of leading up to a challenge that he's going to be doing, if you want to elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm Braxton Detson, and what I'm doing, or what I came up with, is that I'm doing this mustard challenge. But it's not even a challenge. It's actually breaking the world record, the Guinness World Record of drinking mustard. And I'll get this, it's from a bottle, not a tube. Evidently, there's 2 records you can break. I'm doing the bottle. So I have to drink over 18 ounces. It's like 560 milliliters of mustard in under 30 seconds. And so that's we're going to be doing some hype videos. These guys, Digital Adventure Crew, has been nice enough to come up and record, which I need to submit video evidence, and so they're taking care of that for me, and we're doing this collaboration, which is real exciting. So thank you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. We're just glad to be a part of it, and honestly, I just want to watch it happen. It's going to be awesome to see.
There's been a lot more interest than I thought that there would be. I thought most people would be like, "You're super weird. I don't even want to watch that." But most people are very intrigued with many parts of the process for doing this mustard challenge.
It's going to be
this mustard record. And the reason that I'm doing it, the behind story of it is I want to make it an awareness event as well. I want to I've taken it, and I'll follow through with me in these dad jokes essentially, but it's mustered up your courage to talk to your kids about sexual health.
Ooh, that's clever.
Yeah. When I came up with it, I was like, that is so dumb. But it works, because if I can muster up the courage to do something really gross and drink a bunch of mustard, then I believe that parents all around the world can muster up the courage to talk to their kids about sexual values, sexual health, relationships. It's not just the act of sex, but having multiple small daily conversations with their kids about their bodies, about sexual health. And it can be difficult, but it's something you can do.
Which is definitely uncomfortable. I would say well up there with the uncomfortable level of chugging mustard. It would be just as hard to talk to your kids about something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't even have kids, and the thought of doing that is terrible.
And I think most people with kids feel that way.
I gotta say, you seem like a pretty committed and passionate therapist to be like, all right, guys, this is what I'm gonna do to try and help you get through it. I'm gonna beat the world record. Like, who does that? Therapists.
Yeah.
Like,
I really don't know of anyone else that's doing something like this. I question myself all the time, going, no one's doing this.
Up until now, I had no idea that there was a world record for chugging mustard. So,
man, yeah, it seems like there's records for the most random things that you would never think.
Yeah, and for me, I didn't know about it either. I was coming out of a session one night, and it was just like I was trying to unwind, and I was unwinding on my therapy couch, and I was looking, and something spiked. I think someone was drinking a bottle of ketchup or something. I was like, I wonder if there's a world record for mustard drinking.
Is your couch like one of those ones that's flat, like the big curve?
No, I don't have one of those yet.
The stereotypical therapy couch.
Nope, I've got a love seat, and then the one I sit on actually is like a couch, a faux couch, a cow, like a cow skin,
Really?
but a faux cow skin one. So it's, I don't know, my office is pretty fun.
Yeah, it's chill, relaxed. That's
Yeah.
what you'd want to have.
But I found
Before
out
we-
there was that. Yeah.
Before we jump any further into this, now that you guys have heard what this is about and where we're going with it, I want to take it way back to the beginning because we actually have a strange history with Mr. Dutson here. We grew up relatively close to each other in a town called West Mountain.
Oh yeah.
And we've actually known each other for 10.
Oh, it's been longer than 10 years. I've been graduated for 10 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
We are probably working on, I want to say 17.
17 years.
Because I've been in that house. We moved into the house that's close to yours, or we were building that house probably back in 2003. So it's about 15 years.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So literally, like, we had no contact after basically he graduated because everyone just moves away and gets lives. And we started doing the YouTube thing. And then out of nowhere, we saw Birds and Bees podcast pop up, and we found out it was Braxton. And as soon as we found out he was doing something similar, like, okay, we've got to get together. We've got to do something together. And he brought up the whole mustard chugging thing and asked if we want to get involved in. Absolutely. So that's what brought us up to where we are now.
Yeah. It's interesting to think back on the first interaction I really had with you is you getting on and off the bus. Like we were just bus mates.
With old D Hill.
D Hill. I was always in trouble on that bus.
Yeah, likewise. They'd issue those little bus tickets if you were bad and you couldn't ride the bus for a day and have your parents sign it. Oh, man, good times.
Yeah.
My last bus ride I ever did with her, she gave me a hug.
No way.
Because, like, my last year going on the bus, you were gone, Cody and Bo had a car. So, like, the whole year I was just, like, kind of listening to my music, just waiting for the bus to leave. And right when my last time getting off the bus, she was just like, hey, wait a minute. And she's like, you've really grown up and turned into a great young man. And she stood up, like, not easy for her. And
No.
she, like, hugged me. I was like, whoa, like, see you later.
See?
But no, it
such
was
a
really
sweet
nice
lady.
of her to do that because we put her through.
Oh, my gosh.
lot.
The ringer.
The ringer. Like,
Everything and anything.
Oh.
Well, we had like more than that, like a 30-minute bus ride home.
oh,
We're
yeah.
out in the middle of the sticks and so many stops. So, man, you can only pin a kid up for so long before they find every avenue of entertainment, you know?
I just remember you, Cody, and Bo would always try to sneak me off the bus because you would talk to her and I was smaller. So I would just like go right behind you
Yes.
guys. And I did it and she saw me and she's like, Mr. Victor! I was like,
Saw her. Mr. Dutson. Mr. Merritt.
Dude, I remember one of the times on the last day of school, you know, you're all amped and like you jump off the bus all stoked. I was on the top step and I was like, last day, D, and I jumped off, but I was too high and I racked my head on that pad on the top of the door. It went out the door and landed on my back.
Are you
On the
serious?
ground. I'm just like, oh. And I just look up at her. I'm like, last day, see ya. Just run off so embarrassed.
I
run
can't
into
believe
the
you were
house.
alive.
It was so bad, dude.
Oh, heaven. Yeah, we had some good times on that bus.
Oh, man, so many good
Bless
times.
her heart. Years and years of putting up with us.
Yeah, yeah. This one's to you, D.
Yeah, D.U.D.
To
hell.
you. Hopefully you see that. That would be so cool.
I'm gonna call her out on Facebook. I'll be like, listen to this. We talked about you. she'll think that's fun.
She has no idea the impact that she made on us.
Yeah, seriously.
And that I Am the Pizza soundtrack. Did she ever put you through that?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, and
like
all
the
the
kindergarten-
Halloween stuff.
I am
Oh.
the pizza.
I am a pizza.
Pepperoni. And everybody on the bus would just light up. No.
No.
Turn it off.
She would just laugh and crank it up even more.
And she'd
Oh.
sing it into her little thing. Remember, she'd do like the crackly voice, like,
Uh-huh.
I am the pizza. She'd do that
Like,
so much.
Especially if you were bad. Like the worst you got, she was like, I can hang with this.
Yeah.
And she would just crank it.
Oh.
Dude, that's-
Stop the bus and no one could get off for a minute. She'd be like, hey, until everyone's sitting down, and like then the kids would start turning on you and she'd like have the whole bus turn on you.
Yeah.
Like, would you sit down? I want to go home.
Oh no! Like you got to give it to her though, because for her to do something like, I totally get it now. It's like that was her making her job funner for her.
Oh, yeah.
Is to just torture little kids with crappy music.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we never would crack her either. That's the other thing. Like there are other bus drivers we'd crack.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know, like,
just lose it.
just they would lose
Yeah.
it, absolutely lose it. And this
Yeah.
one, she's like, well, if you're gonna up the ante, I'm gonna up the ante too. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, we have no control.
We have no control.
And if it got too far, then we get a ticket. So
Those tickets.
those tickets.
I hated those things.
Yeah, then I had to pay my mom to be a taxi. That was the threat. She's like, if you get kicked off the bus and I have to be your taxi, you're paying me $5 for taxi fees. I'm like, that's the worst.
$5 back then too is like everything.
Yeah, for a 15-year-old, it was like, or no, I was probably 12 when I was getting those tickets. So yeah, that was bad.
Oh man.
But yeah, I think that so I graduated from school and obviously took off and went up to college to start my my social work program to become an LCSW. But even from time to time, like my brothers were hanging out with you guys, and so I'd come over and
Old Parker.
yeah, Parker would be coming over and I'd see the trucks you guys buy or the cars. We'd end up doing some sledding whenever I was down in Payson, which is actually where we're recording today, which is awesome.
Old Payson,
Good
small
old
town
Payson.
life. It's awesome. Yeah, you shot up there, went and got your degree, bounced off. Where do you live now?
So I'm in Magnum, about 15 minutes west of Salt Lake.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which
that's
is
out
more
in the-
kind of out in the sticks
Yeah.
as well. We got a lot of farmland out there, but because of Amazon and FedEx coming in, there's a ton of development.
Oh really? They're building out there.
Oh yeah, they're
Yeah, that's
building
gonna
like crazy. It's gonna boom.
That's gonna be a lot of jobs, a lot
Yeah.
of people.
Yeah, so I ended up getting my master's degree up at the University of Utah in social work. And from there, one of the classes there was the human sexuality class. And when I was taking that class, I decided, wow, I really like this topic. Like it was a little bit odd. I was in the class thinking like, wow, I feel like this is where I should be. And then I was also like, maybe you're just a perv. Because I was way into all of the topics we were talking about from on the sexuality spectrum. And I just found out, no, I'm just super passionate about changing the way people talk about sexual health, helping people understand more. And I get real frustrated that there's not enough support or education for parents, for kids. We really grow up blind in a part of our health that is so important to all of us. Every single one of us is a sexual being, and the majority of us don't learn anything unless it's through friends or pornography or trial and error in a relationship, and that's difficult to learn through that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the first time I ever learned or brushed that topic was actually in 5th grade. The whole maturation program type deal. Yeah, pretty weird little class. But they taught you the little basics and just the worst slides ever.
Yes.
The most awkward setting, a bunch of mortified 5th graders.
My mom attended with me too. So my mom was there, and we'd already had the talk. Like she had talked with me, and when I say the talk, she talked a lot about it. But I remember the guy could not say any part of the genitalia. He was like, "So you're gonna get hair down there," and my mom was like, "Are you for real?" She whispers over to me like, "Is this guy for real? He can't even say it."
Dude, that's so
Oh,
weird.
so we didn't get a ton of information. The thing I remember the most from that is that the girls came out with their baggies. We got a see-through baggie of deodorant, toothpaste, and toothbrushes. It was cool. And the girls came out with brown paper sacks. We're like, "What'd you guys get?" And they're like, "Nothing."
Candy. We got candy.
We got candy.
That's what
we
they
didn't
told
get
us.
a freaking candy.
They told us, we got candy, which later on we found out, obviously, tampons, but we're like, no way, give us some of the candy. Give us some of the candy. And they're just guarding those bags, which made it even worse. But someone ended up stealing one of the bags eventually and disclosed to everybody.
And why don't they just, that's what I don't get. They don't teach men about menstruation. They don't teach boys that, hey, this is what the girls are going through. It's like, hey, you guys take care of you.
Yeah, it was a very one-sided conversation.
Yeah. And it's so shaming, it's like, okay, you guys get the see-through bags, they get the brown bags. Just don't ask them about it. Someone infiltrates the brown bag and what are these for?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we had to change that. That's my premise is.
I think that's a good way to bring it up and pull through it, because obviously just having this conversation here, you can already start to spot there's something wrong with the way this is being taught. There's something wrong with the way it's being brought up to kids. Even the way that we talk about it. It's just such a foreign thing. Nothing was really clarified, or you didn't walk out of that class with a good feeling or a good vibe about what just happened. It was still kind of rocky and weird,
Oh yeah.
And then literally, I didn't hear about it again, other than friends, up until I was probably 15 or something like that with my parents. And then even then it was just like a quick brush of just like, yeah, okay, so sit down, let me give you the lowdown. Here's how it's going to work, And you're just like, I already know this in the worst way possible from friends, but this is just crazy awkward, Yeah. Like, I just want this to be over right now.
Right now, because we never talk about it, and if we can just get through it, then...
Yeah.
Was that your experience too, Brian?
Oh, yeah. Like, I don't know, 5th graders and just watching all that stuff in a room, and it's all dead quiet, and it's just on a crappy projector, and the teacher's just like, yep. And then it's just, it's the part of the day that everybody just wants to be over with, because it's just, it doesn't really do much. It's awkward, and like, you feel like you get nothing from it other than like, well, that was weird.
When did your parents give you the talk?
I don't think they ever did.
Oh, well, sit on down, buddy. Let me.
We can give you one. But this is the funny part about it is we talk about the talk, and I want parents to move away from that like crazy. So as I graduated my license and got my license as a social worker, on top of graduate school, I took another 2 years and did sex-specific education for myself. So I went through this thing called D.A.C, which is an organization that certifies therapists, educators, and coaches on sexual health so they can identify their judgments, their biases, get correct information, and be able to actually provide sexual support and help to parents or anyone that comes in to see them. And so that was essentially getting another degree.
Oh, wow.
And throughout all that is when I'm finding out even more of like, if we could make this a same conversation as much as we talk about car safety and seat belts and heaven forbid, what is it, the drug week, Red Ribbon Week.
Oh, yeah,
that's what it is.
The whole DARE thing.
Yeah. The whole DARE situation where everyone's talking about like, okay, I remember them bringing like Power Ranger stickers, and they're like, if you see a sticker like this, it's not a sticker, it's acid. Don't eat it. Don't put it on your fingers. Like, they gave us all these warnings about it and taught us in depth about drugs, but we can't learn about any type of sexual understandings. We get one. I find that parents tend to do talks about like 8 years old, 12, and then 16. I don't know who came up with those ages, but those seem to be the general progression of like, okay, 8-year-olds need to know how babies are made and how they get into tummies. 12-year-olds, you've got your puberty that's hitting, so we better talk about puberty. And then 16 is like, crap, they're gonna date.
Yeah. Prom's around the corner.
And so we need to make sure that they understand. And like your experience is the same for the majority of people. We're like, yeah, I don't want to be here right now. We don't talk about this. Can we just continue not talking about it? Or even like with Brian, we don't get one. It's just like, whoop, figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if they just didn't want to, forgot, or assumed that I already knew. But I don't remember it happening. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it didn't.
And lots of parents fall under each of those categories.
Yeah. So you say that you would want to get away from the talk, and you talked about there being 3 times that parents would do it. So with everything that you've learned so far, what would you recommend, or how would you advise parents to speak to their kids, and how often about these kind of things?
So I encourage, first, it's getting parents to feel a little comfortable. And, if we can say this on YouTube, I say it on my podcast all the time, but when we're talking about correct anatomical terms, so I'm going to use them. And it's, if you can get yourself comfortable with saying penis, right? That's exactly the first response where it's like, I cannot say penis, or vulva, vagina, anything along those lines. When you were like, okay, I'm going to laugh, or it's like, I cannot use that word. Go to the mirror or get with your partner and be like, okay, we've got to talk to little Johnny about this, and I'm going to use penis.
I'm going to drop it.
Okay, I'm going to drop the P.
Drop in the P. Prep yourself. So being able to prep yourself and get through your uncomfortabilities, and even owning when it is uncomfortable, I'm telling you, is you're able to bring these conversations up more and more, it becomes a part of normal conversation, just as much as, hey, are you wearing your seatbelt? Or talking about, driving under the speed limit, or anything that you would talk to your teenager about. If you have these conversations on a weekly basis or daily basis, and I don't mean just sitting down and being like, all right, it's our weekly time to talk about this, but you watch a movie, you listen to an R. Kelly song or something. There's so many ways to be able to start talking to your kids about healthy relationships. Like, that's interesting.
when a couple years ago that I Can't Feel My Face song came out. I can't feel my face when I'm with you. Yeah, right?
I've never heard that one.
But I love it.
Whoa.
You guys want me to leave?
But that's a perfect experience. One of my therapist friends, they were singing that in the car, and after the song was over, she turned down the radio. It's like, I feel that interesting. I feel my face every time I'm with your dad, and I'm in love with him too. Like, what do you guys think? And so it's these. I think there's like a 4-year-old, an 8-year-old, and they're like, I don't know. And they got to have somewhat of a dialogue, and it's pulling any experience from movie watching to TV shows. We live in a very sexualized world that we can have multiple conversations almost any point in time during the day. And if we can make it that way, then it becomes not so much one conversation about all of sexuality. It becomes multiple, thousands of conversations, small and short ones, that we can manage.
I could definitely see the importance in it, too, of making it a comfortable atmosphere. Because like you said, where it's an uncomfortable situation and you don't want to be in that conversation, if there is ever a point where there's a general question for them, your kids won't come to you. Yeah. They're gonna be like, I'm not going to sit through that again. That was a terrible, really awkward thing.
Oh, yeah.
But if it's a comfortable thing and they're like, okay, I genuinely have some questions, some concerns, or like, got to figure some things out, they won't just go straight to the internet and find incorrect sources or to friends and
porn.
Yeah.
That's what they'll type in something, and porn will definitely show them non-supportive information.
They'll show you the extreme side of almost every situation.
One thing I've noticed is no matter what the topic is, if it's something awkward that you don't want to really do, everything I've experienced, even with us lately, like everything that needs to be brought up and everything, it sucks, but afterwards you feel so much better, and everybody's just on another plane of like, okay, and understanding with anything.
Yeah.
Just get through it and do it, because at the end everyone feels better and they know more.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
And you brought up a great point of if they feel comfortable or know that you're open to these conversations, then they will come to you. And they always come at the most inopportune time. So that's the disclaimer, is that if you're having these conversations, there's a good chance. And I hear story after story of the kid coming up, mom's doing dishes or dad's doing dishes. And then they're like, Mom, what's a blowjob? And they're like, where did you hear that word?
Oh, dude, I have a great story for that.
I'm so excited.
Me and my buddy Jake, when we were little, I had this little music program, and we made a song, and we were like, what should we name it? And my name is Brian, his name's Jake, so we labeled it BJ Song. And he said he was in his kitchen, like on his computer, and his dad walks in, and he's like, yeah, it's just some songs me and Brian made. And he's scanning through the names, and he's like, what's that one? Because it said BJ Song. He's like, oh, that's the song me and Brian made. And he's like, play it. Like what did you make? And it was just a stupid little kid electronic song that we were so proud of. But at first glance, he's like, what?
What is that?
Because it was just totally, we had no idea. We were just like, yeah, Brian Jacobs song. But
and it comes out just like that. And they'll ask questions like this right off the cuff, and that's practicing your response to those moments where you're like, I was not expecting that. Being able to respond like, hey, you know what, that's a great question, thanks for being honest with me, or thanks for coming and asking me, can we talk about it right before you go to bed tonight, so you can follow through with maybe you don't know what to say, maybe you're freaked out,
setting type atmosphere.
Yeah, and you can manage your emotions too. If you're like, okay, I'm gonna have to talk about this topic, I need to be able to say this, and go practice in the mirror, or call someone, or get some support, listen to a podcast, do something that can be that supports you, so that you feel like, okay, I can do this. All you've got to do is be one chapter ahead of your kids.
Yeah. Well, with that right there, we're going to take a short little break, refill our glasses, and we'll get right back into it. All right, we're back. And we're jumping right back into the topic of talking to your kids about the uncomfortable situation, the talk, and how to bridge that gap. And something you opened my eyes up to when we were talking about, and you said like a kid comes up with a question about something I haven't heard, like a BJ, for example. Back in our day, the old days. Listen to me, like I'm
Back in
old.
our days.
26 years old.
In the
Back
90s.
the
Back in the 90s.
Let me tell you, son.
we didn't like computers were just becoming a thing, you know. Like you couldn't just, oh, I'm gonna go Google this or like figure it out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, right now that information's in everybody's pockets, a majority of kids' pockets. So when they have those questions, yeah, if they don't come to you first, more than likely they're gonna Google BJ and watch the first video that comes up.
Mm-hmm.
And I never considered that. Like that could really expose kids to things that, like you said, could be misleading or confusing or something like that, where we didn't have back then. So you had to ask a friend, and even then, half the time you got the wrong information.
Exactly. Yeah, yes, Brian. He's like, well, that's the Brian. What was your friend's name?
Jacob.
Jacob song.
Dude, we were so innocent. Oh man.
Having my girlfriend come over for a BJ.
The song.
The Brian Jacob song.
Everybody's looking at us like we're weird. We're like, what?
What?
Do you not like it? But
Well, that's why right now, on average, kids are seeing their first exposure to pornography is roughly around the age of 8, 9, or 10, and that's why it's not a matter of if they're going to see pornography or pornographic material. It's a matter of when. And so having these conversations is super important, so they understand the understanding of pornography, as well as it's important for parents to know that we don't jump straight into, well, my kid's a sex fiend and they're addicted to porn or they're a sex addict, where ultimately I came up with the 3 C's of why kids are looking at pornography. And one of them is, the first one's clicking. Like, for example, this one girl that was looking for tights. She was Googling tights. Younger girl didn't know it spelled TIGHTS and spelled it TITS. And so obviously Google was like, well, we know what you want.
Yeah.
And pulled it up, and mom was like, what is my daughter looking into, and why is she looking at pornography? It was sincerely concerned, which is understandable. But that's the clicking part, misspelling words, looking through YouTube, and YouTube has a generator that, just brings up movie or show after show after show that you could stumble across something. The kids randomly just stumble onto things on accident.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. It's important to be able to talk about that and talk about your values. So you've got the clicking, and then the curious. Curious tends to happen, a lot, especially because we don't know what a BJ is, or, what do girls look like? We don't know. No one's talking to us, but we're curious. We know they're different. And so then they Google that, or they're asking friends. And these are all very normal behaviors for kids. But it's important that, one, we're able to curb their curiosity into, okay, you come talk to us when you're curious. We can get you this information. But also knowing that if you see that they have stumbled across pornography or have searched out pornography and come across it, that doesn't make them a sex addict. It doesn't make them a porn addict. It makes them curious, and we need to have some conversations about that. And then the last C is coping, where, kids go through a lot when they're in school. Parents are getting divorced, or they're being bullied, or there's a lot of different things that happen, and masturbation and pornography are ways that kids have used to cope with difficulties. And so if they need some support, let's get them to a therapist. Let's help find different ways of coping. It doesn't have to mean that you've got to go through an addiction recovery program. A lot of the times we need to be able to talk about why we're mad at mom and dad for being divorced, or whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm. Find the underlying causes that maybe influencing that behavior. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. So those tend to be the different reasons that I came up with on what I see the most with kids being exposed to pornography.
That's wild. Have you been staying pretty busy? Do you have a lot of people coming over?
Yeah.
About these issues?
Yeah, I do. I see probably 30 individuals and couples. I see individuals, couples, and teenagers, about 30 people a week.
Really? What's the age spectrum of the people that you talk to?
So I go, the lowest age I tend to work with is about 12, 13 years old. There's other therapists that work with kids, and it's just not who I work best with. Mm-hmm. But I work with the teenagers, so 13 on up, and I'd say the vast majority of people I work with are people on average in their 30s, late 20s, 30s, but I see people early 20s, and even older as well, and with an array of different sexual experiences. Some people are wanting support with dealing with feeling out of control in their sexual behavior, and some people want to increase their communication within a relationship. So I see a lot of couples that want to be able to achieve a different sex life, but also understand that they're having a hard time communicating what their needs are. And yeah, lesbian, gay, bisexual population, as well as heterosexual, Mormons. I see a lot of Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saint people. And I see an array of different people mostly for sexual issues.
Do you feel?
Oh, go ahead, man.
Do you feel like you've learned? I feel like you would, doing that kind of job, like learned a lot about just different personalities and just life in general. Like meeting so many different people and hearing their stories. Like I feel that like that would make you see things in a new way.
Oh yeah, it's so interesting to me that every time I talk to a person, the more I understand that I don't understand. That's the thing that gets me with other therapists that don't go into sex-specific training, is that it's really easy to fall into this, hey, I have sex, or I've been able to talk about sex for a long time, so I can do this. And the more that I've been trained, the more that I realize I don't understand. In a way that if you say, hey, this was my experience, and I take that for face value, what I'm really doing is I'm putting my experience onto your experience. So the more curious I can get with individuals, the more I start to understand their experience and really stick with them, versus if someone says, oh yeah, we hooked up, you have an experience of what hooking up means, you have an experience of what hooking up means, and I do too. So if we just leave it at face value for that, I mean, the other day, one of the people I was talking to, she's like, yeah, we hooked up. And I was like, well, what does that mean? And she's like, well, we made out. Hooking up to other clients that come and say, well, we hooked up, means they went all the way, had sex. And then when they say, we had sex, I'm like, well, what does that mean? And we start to figure out what their values and what their experiences are. So the more that I meet with people, the more I understand that each person's experience is their own experience. They have reasons for what they've done. They have a history of, biological, psychological, social, sexual, that affects where they are right now. And I believe that there's healing for everyone that comes in.
Yeah.
So it's really case by case specific.
Definitely.
So I don't know. I feel like every meeting anyone and talking about what's bothering them, it seems to like, in a way, help me feel better, because like we're all just in this world together, and literally everyone you see or walk past is fighting something that they don't want to be happening. But we don't think about that. We only think about ourselves and what's going on with us. So like hearing different stories, you're like, oh, maybe I should stop complaining so much.
And sheds light of what you could do different.
Yeah.
Sounds like you've already been through this. What can I learn from that situation from you, so I don't repeat that same behavior?
Yeah. And especially having like similar, like hearing somebody and it speaks directly to you as well. If you had a similar experience, like just that connection of the same thing and sympathy, you're just like, oh wow, they had it too. I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
The other thing to remember off that is this phenomenon of Facebook and Instagram, as you said it perfect, Brian, is that everyone's going through their own stuff. And it's real easy to get caught up in our own. And as we get caught up in our own, we'll start looking at other people and be like, well, Brian's got it figured out. Jesse's got it figured out. Why can't I get this figured out? Jesse's got a sweet Dodge. I don't have a sweet Dodge. Why isn't, I'm not up with Dodge. The sweetest Dodge. But you can start to compare yourself. And I see this happen because I work with maternal mental health and like especially fathers that are dealing with postpartum depression, anxiety. After a baby's been born, they experience some of this stuff. And it's quite easy to look on Instagram and Facebook and see everyone else with their babies, or if you're, everyone being happy and you're not being happy. And it can tend to perpetuate yourself of feeling isolated, like I'm the only one going through this.
Yeah, there was a quote from Bill Murray, I think. He said, he's like, social media is training us to only, like, to compare our lives, and everyone only shows how awesome it is. And he's like, no wonder everyone's depressed.
Yeah.
Because they just are sitting there and they look on it and everybody's just like, just got a new dog, bought our first house. And like,
it's a very good point.
It's like, that's what he said. He was just like, look at it. Everybody, it's just a big competition.
Yeah.
Like,
everybody accentuates the best part of their life.
Yeah.
Like putting up this facade of like perfectness,
Yeah.
When back behind the scenes, everyone's going through at least something.
Definitely.
That's crazy.
A lot of difficulties.
I'm pretty new to the social media thing, so.
Yeah, but at the same time, for the most part, I don't feel like everybody is competing. They might be, but I feel like it almost it makes them feel better to show off a little bit. Everybody likes to show off accomplishments and stuff, but it's just like you got to find that balance.
It is. And it's not to say that it's necessarily wrong either. You know, it can feel good to be like, hey, I did this and have people like it and show this with people. There's great positives, and the shadow side of that is we're forgetting that if we're comparing ourselves to someone's social media life and not getting their whole story, we're not talking enough. We're not really understanding what the other side of what they're experiencing is.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So let's switch gears here a little bit.
Yeah, we went down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I'm drinking a bunch of mustard. Who's with me?
That's what I wanted to talk about. Talk about the event that's coming up a little bit to raise awareness.
That was my question. What has the preparation been like for the mustard? Like, have you been practicing? Like, what do you do to prepare?
On a couple different occasions. So it really started out as a party trick. I would be at a party and, I'd be at a friend's house or something, and maybe not even a party trick, but it was mostly to gross out, my best friend's sisters or something like that they'd be in the room like, I'm not leaving. And I'd be like, oh, really? And I'd open up the fridge and pull out their mustard, be like, I guess I'm going to drink some of this. And put some on my tongue, and people are like, that's so gross. I have no idea how you do that. I'm like, mustard's good. I like mustard on cheese. I mean, I can just eat mustard. I love it.
Mustard on cheese.
That's
can
good
attest
stuff.
to that. I love it.
And so from that, it moved into, I wonder what the mustard record is. And a guy named Andre Oldhorf in Germany holds it right now. And I was like, man, I could beat 18 ounces, I think. My preparation for it has been, I applied, found the rules, and then my boss at one of our meetings was like, hey, I brought 2 8-ounce bottles of mustard. Do you want to tank them? And I was like, sure. And I did it in like 35 seconds. And that was with 2 mustard bottles trying to go. And I was like, wow, I'm actually a lot closer than I thought. I could actually really do this. And so I did that then. I started playing with different bottle caps, different temperatures of mustard.
Wow. Temperatures.
I know. He was telling me that earlier because it makes sense. Like, if it's warmer, it's going to be faster going anywhere than a cold molasses.
Significantly. And on a full stomach, on an empty stomach, it does make my stomach hurt afterwards. I drank one, and I was like, for an hour, I was like, oh, yeah, that's 20 ounces of mustard in my stomach.
That's
that
a
hurts.
Lot of acid
that's
just working through the system.
And so on a full stomach, it's a lot better. Most people ask, like, okay, so how's the aftermath after eating so much mustard?
Oh, yeah.
For me, it's not been rough. I haven't had too much of changes in bowel movements or anything like that. No discoloration, which bums people out a little bit. They're like, oh, we want the real
I want it to be
bad.
Raw, uncut. Crazy.
But by the time I'm hoping to go with a Costco size 30 ounce and just drink as much as I possibly can in that 30 seconds while y'all are recording me, and we'll see what ends up happening afterwards.
Try to not just beat the record, but just slaughter
the record, especially because I just gave away all my trade secrets of like, oh, temperature is different. Oh, you got to go with this different size mustard cap, and this is the bottle that I'm going to go from. And I think the hardest part is getting all of the mustard out of the bottle because it slides down the side, and so you're shaking it. And
do you have to keep it down, or do you just have to get it and then you can throw up, or what? How does it work?
It doesn't say anything about throwing it up. I know that if it's like right afterwards, that's not going to count. The main thing is you have to get it down, and then once the timer ends, you have to open up your mouth, and all the mustard has to be gone, and then it's done. From there on out, it's like if you drank it, you drank it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I haven't thrown up yet either, and there was that one 16-ounce thing that I did, and then I did a 20-ounce one for City Weekly. And they did a special story on me, and they're like, we want this to be just our video. So they videoed me doing it. And that one worked out really well. The cap I used on it was horrible, but it's all in a learning process.
Just like a little tiny nozzle, trying to squirt it out of there.
Have you been getting faster at your times as you?
Yeah. So I did that 20 ounce. We did the 30 seconds, and I believe there was only maybe 2 ounces left. So if anything, I believe I tied the record there. And that was with me trying to shake it. And the bottle was one of those, right now they've got the no spill caps
Oh yeah.
that have the little plastic in them, and that doesn't allow any air to get back in. And so I squeezed that bottle so hard that I was like trying to get it undone, and I couldn't get it out. It was really hard to squeeze through that.
Yeah.
So I'll go with just an open cap.
What's the premise again? Is 30 seconds
30 seconds.
for 18 ounces?
Yeah, I've got to drink over 18 ounces in 30 seconds. It's all got to be gone. And yeah, the preparation's really difficult just because I don't want to sit and drink a ton of mustard from all the sodium and things like that over and over and over again. But in comparison to, again, what I'm trying to accomplish with these parents is that as hard as it is to do, like I can't just say, okay, I'm just going to drink a bunch of mustard day in and day out, because it's not healthy. It doesn't work that way. I am constantly thinking of, what are some different changes? How can I change some things? And I thought that cap with the plastic was going to be so much better, but it wasn't. It was worse. It was horrible. But the main thing is this trial and error. And it's the same with talking to your kids about sexual health. It's, what do I want to talk about? How do I bring this up? Each kid is different too. There's not a specific way to talk to your kid about sexual health. And it's not all about the act of penis, vagina, intercourse. I mean, there is so much more when it comes to sexual health than the actual act of sex. There's hygiene, there is values you put into it, there's dating, there's everything under the sun, hormones, all that stuff that you can talk to them about, and healthy relationships. And just as I'm looking through my mustard and deciding, like, what brand do I want to use, and finding out that when it's cold mustard, it's so hard to drink. Cold mustard is tough. Like, I don't know what it does, but it pulls the vinegar out. Like, I'll put some in my mouth, and like back of my throat, vinegar hits, and I'm like, whoa, okay, wow, that's potent. I think I've got a video up on YouTube of me talking about how people talk to their kids about sex with the hot dog.
Oh
and
yes, yeah.
the mustard.
A little bit's good. That's too much. Just dousing it down.
Yes. Or one talk is like dousing a hot dog full of mustard. And I took a bite of that, and I legit started coughing. I wasn't pretending or anything. It hit the back of my throat. It was like, okay.
Keep it
Whoa.
together.
And the warmer mustard is easier to go down. But we're going to be filming different teasers, and
Yeah, actually, we're gonna be filming one after this podcast. A little teaser to kind of build hype and get the word out about his event that's gonna be happening. As a matter of fact, let's break into that. Where is this event gonna be held at?
so this is going to be at Liberty Park. It's at 1300 South in Salt Lake City and about 700 East. It's a really big park. So I imagine we'll set up under, in some shade, probably on the east side. We're going to find a place that's out there. So we'll be on the east side, southeast side of the park, kind of by where the big pond is. And we're going to set up. I think we're going to try and have hot dogs for sale out there, have a PA system. We're going to see what newsrooms are going to be willing to come out and do some recording of us. You guys will be there.
We'll be there.
The Digital Adventure Crew.
Woo. Oh yeah.
And that's September 22nd, and we're going to do it probably midday. I don't think we've nailed down a time. Maybe we ought to nail down a time.
Yeah, we're still working out the details, like you said, with the PA system and some sort of stage where we can get you up a little bit higher, even if it's like a flatbed tray that we just pull in with.
Oh, that's a good call.
On it.
Yeah.
And we'll make it legit and official because, like I said, it's for a good cause. It's entertaining. It's fun, and I like the idea of having like the hot dogs for sale, and we could even have little miniature challenges where people can go up there and race, shoot down like a couple shots of mustard or something like that, and race for like a little trophy or something.
That'd be cool.
Kind of get people involved, but either way, man, it's gonna be a great time.
I think so too.
I'm excited about it. We'll let you guys know more as soon as we figure out, like, example, the time and exact location of where it's gonna be at the park.
And I'm gonna make a Facebook event that anyone can go to. You could follow me on Facebook, Braxton Dutson, Birds and Bees Podcast on Facebook or Instagram, and I'm going to be setting up whatever information we have there. So maybe up to the date or even following your videos is going to help us out too.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So yeah, if you got some free time, come on down when we're September 22nd and witness a world record attempt and eat some food and have some fun.
Yeah. Eat some hot dogs.
Eat some hot dogs. And if you're a parent that decides that they want to know a little bit more about sexual education or specific topics, you're not 100% sure how to go about it, that's what the premise of Birds and Bees Podcast is all about, is free information for parents and couples to increase their relationship in the couple, as well as help prepare you to talk to your kids about healthy sexual health, and be able to help you feel like, yeah, I can do this. I interview professionals. We talk about specific sexual topics. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, or birdsandbeastpodcast.com.
Pretty much anywhere podcasts are found.
Yes.
Way more than where we're found at. We're only on YouTube as of right now.
But you guys have a setup. I mean, this is sick.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're getting there. Yeah, that's awesome. I was going to tell you to plug your thing, but I think you already got it.
I think so. Yeah. I'd love to have as many parents as possible. And I do presentations too. So if you're like, hey, I want you to come talk to my group about sexual health, I'd love to do presentations or watch for me around Salt Lake and hopefully across the nation as time goes on. I love presenting.
So cool. That would be so cool to get to travel and get to go talk to people about that.
Oh, yeah. It's my favorite. I love it.
That would be so fun. Well, there you have it. Check out Birds and Bees Podcast. You can find him on social media, anywhere podcasts are found. Be sure to look into it. It's a really cool thing. He does little videos as well, which are really entertaining. And it's amazing information, something that I think everybody could benefit from or help you out a lot. You want to go ahead and plug our stuff there, Viggs?
All right, we got the Digital Adventure Crew on YouTube now. Go check us out if you like funny skits, podcasts, and challenges. We try to make it just a fun time for everybody and for us. So if you have some free time, check us out.
We're pretty much not locked down with anything. We're still finding our niche in the YouTube sea, so we do a little of everything.
I can vouch for that. It is hilarious to watch what you guys do. Like you had the cup challenges and then roulette with different gross things to eat, and
and the skits.
The skits are funny.
Just literally whatever we feel like that day. We just wake up like, you know what? Let's have fun with it. We're just gonna film this.
Yeah, so far we've been having really positive responses from people that we didn't expect because we were so nervous to throw ourselves out there because we liked it. We're like, we have fun, but everything we've been hearing from random people, we're like, wow, thank you. I had no idea that it would come to this, but
hopefully it keeps going.
It's just got to take that first step, the uncomfortable step of being vulnerable.
Exactly. Putting yourself out to the world.
Get it.
Like, take it or leave it, I guess. Well, thanks again, guys. Be sure to check out our next video and look for him on the internet as well. And until next time, see you guys later.
See ya.